Hello everyone, I'm Unnati. I'm in the marketing area in the business administration department and so excited to share some of my research with you today. I broadly study how digital technologies impact firms and consumers. Today I'm going to focus on one particular stream of work, which is focused on online learning platforms and should be hopefully of interest to many of you who either teach online or teach in person but would love to transition more into the online space. So at the end of this talk, I want you to walk away with 3 key takeaways. Hopefully, I'll convince you that first, the traditional higher education system as we've known it for years is broken and is undergoing disruption. Second, online technologies, particularly online learning platforms, are playing a key role enabling potential disruptions that can resolve some of these challenges of access and affordability. At the same time, the major criticism is that there is very low learner engagement in the online world. Third, how do we improve engagement? To that end, I will demonstrate one key tool that I found in my research to lift learner engagement by over 30%. And this is something I would love for you all to try in your courses as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's talk big picture for a moment. This is the amount that 44 million Americans owe in terms of their educational debt. It is $1,685,397,995. It's a mouthful to even say. An average American today graduates with $30,000 in loan. When I did my undergrad and master's, granted it was 10 years ago in India, I probably paid $5,000 for my entire education. When I came to the US in 2015 for my PhD and met my husband, I learned that for similar degrees and qualifications, he had accumulated $100,000 in debt. If you think about the last few years, the rate of tuition is growing much faster than even inflation rate. And it's not just about the numbers. Students shouldn't have to be under this crushing amount of debt just to be able to get a decent quality of education. And so what I see here is great potential for these higher ed institutions, including ours, that we've been disrupting education because we are the institutions that have the promise of democratizing education and not increasing barriers to education. With online learning, affordability and access and reach have grown in the last few years. Our GIES IMBA costs $23,000 instead of a traditional MBA, which is $60,000, $70,000 each year. However, if you look at the online education, this revolution has really failed to impact as much as we would have liked. So they do reach 220 million students around the world, 950 universities, 20,000 courses, but at the same time, the impact hasn't reached its full potential because these MOOCs, or massive open online courses that started in 2012, are still facing challenges of low engagement and credentialing. So if we think about learner engagement from a typical course, and this is data that I collected from one of the digital marketing courses taught by our marketing faculty on Coursera, over and over again, no matter what course you look at, it's shocking to see that within the first week, 50% learners drop out of the course or reduce engagement drastically. When I say engagement here, I'm looking at the kinds of videos, activity that they watch, or whether they complete assessments or not in each module, starting with module 1 all the way to the end of the course. And so the key question is, what can we do to arrest this kind of retention problem? In my research, I ask one fundamental question: can we use content sharing nudges to improve learner engagement in the online learning platform world? And why do we look at content sharing nudges? Well, think of face-to-face classrooms. A lot of times, instructors use content sharing, such as engaging students in discussions in the class, or asking them to say something about a course or say something about who they are. How many of you use ice-breaking activities in your courses? Several of us. So my intuition going in was that if we do similar nudges in online contexts, perhaps it would improve learner engagement. At the same time, it's unclear, given how diverse, how large-scale, and often very anonymous these online contexts can be. So to test this question, I partnered with Coursera over a multi-year study. This is me at their Mountain View office in 2018, pointing to GIES way before I had actually joined here. So this was a project that I had started back then with some of my collaborators, including Eric from marketing and Manjeet, who was one of my advisors at Texas A&M University. And it's now published at Journal of Marketing Research as of this year. And it's also been featured in a variety of op-eds and podcasts. So what do we do in this study? Well, we have collected data from a digital marketing course on Coursera. For the first study, we simply look at discussion forum postings and use text analysis to ask the question, what are learners talking about in these forums? In the second study, then we run a field experiment by randomizing what types of content sharing nudges learners get assigned to. So let me briefly go over these two studies. In study one, we look at 18,000 learners' data over 2 years using topic models, and we find that either learners post something about their ideas related to the course. So in a marketing course, you would see words like product, company, brand, or they say something about who they are, their identity, which could be hello, look forward to, currently managing, whatever it is. And so with this insight, we then designed a field experiment where we randomly assigned learners to 2 different conditions. In the first one, they were shown a 30-second video prompt of the instructor. You see Eric here. He is basically saying, hey, can you say something about how the digital world has changed firms' and consumers' behavior, which is about the ideas of the course. In the second condition, learners were randomly assigned to say something about who they are, where they're from, and so on. Both these courses were exactly similar. They were just 2 versions of the same course, only varying what type of nudge learners are assigned to. And then they had the opportunity to also post below this 30-second video if they had any reflections to share. So going in, I want to show you the results, and this is the punchline. What do we expect? A priori, I expected identity sharing to work. Some of you are saying identity sharing as well. Well, what do we find? We were quite surprised that identity sharing was similar to the control, no effect. Which means that in large-scale anonymous online platforms, learners probably don't care about getting more well-known. But what happens in idea sharing? It's a 36% lift in how many videos they watch subsequently, and a 32% lift in how many assessments they complete in the rest of the course, which is powerful if you think about the cost of implementing a nudge like this. It's a 30-second video one time by an instructor. And so we wanted to see, why is this effect? What is it about idea sharing that leads to more engagement? And one of the things, when we started looking at the text of the posts that these learners were making in both conditions, we saw that idea sharing posts tend to be much more elaborate. So this is an example of a post from idea sharing and a post from identity sharing, where much more elaboration and complex conversations were started in the idea sharing nudge, whereas identity sharing, it was very surface level, their name, sometimes their age, or which country they're from, and it really didn't have much of an impact. We also have some interesting results on the paper that these idea nudges, or as we call the idea advantage, is more for learners who are from English-speaking countries or those who are new to the online learning platform, which again opens up opportunities for future research to then see what are some nudges that may work for more disadvantaged learners. Overall, I want to walk away here with three takeaways. First, higher ed is facing lots of challenges of access and affordability. Second, online education has the potential and is already currently disrupting some of the challenges that higher ed is facing, but much remains to be done to improve learner engagement and the design of online learning programs. Finally, I demonstrated one tool that I found in my research based on idea sharing nudges in the very first week of an online course that has been very effective for improving learner engagement. We also didn't see that much difference in performance. So there's a whole lot of work that remains to be done in this area, and I am designing future studies in this design of online learning platforms more broadly, based on ideas such as automation and AI as well. Thank you so much.